Lucian! Welcome in, everybody. I am Vicariously Jumpy, and today we will be talking about RWBY Volume 2 with Phoenix of Dusk and Dakota Redheart. And just give me a jiffy, and I'll hop in a call with him real quick. We just got finished watching RWBY Volume 2, and so right now I'm pretty sure our thoughts are fresh and a little bit energetic because of how fun it was. Yeah. Little lag.
Hello.
Ayo. We got the phoenix. Now we're just waiting on the deer.
I forgot this on. See, I'm looking at this time. Aw, it's a little chick in a raincoat.
Aw, what are you looking at?
Lo-fi, yeah, spiritually lo-fi sessions.
Ooh,
Yeah, I got new spirits. Bubble Ducky, that's adorable.
double duck.
Bubble Ducky, that's... And level up.
It's a Dakota!
Hello.
Hello.
Doing
Doing alright. So,
good.
Dakota,
Yes.
RWBY Volume 2. What say you?
I thought it was pretty fun.
That's cool.
Let's open up your stream real quick. There we go.
Alright. So, where we left off with RWBY Volume 1, we got introduced to a couple of new antagonists towards the end of Volume 1. Two of which were still in the making because they were PNGs when they were introduced.
Yeah.
And then now we are in the second semester of our main characters. Team RWBY are Team RWBY and the rest of Beacon Academy are preparing for the Vital Festival, which is going to be next volume. So I can't wait for that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yep.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Not gonna say nothing about it.
No, nada. I want this to affect Dakota spiritually and mentally like it did us.
Yeah. Understandable.
Did something bad happen?
No. No. Well, maybe.
Depends on your
Ruby's
definition of
fucking
bad.
dead. Just kidding.
No, I wouldn't do that to my character.
All right. So, basically the premise of RWBY Volume 2 is to both help establish and build up leading into the events that's going to happen in Volume 3. We get introduced to our new set of antagonists that were introduced back in Volume 1. Mostly Cinder in this regard because, you know, we didn't really have like a name to the face until we watched the special features and then Volume 2 itself. Excuse me. We also got introduced to Velvet again and her team known as Team Coffee, and oh my god, I like every time I watch their introduction fight like that, I just get chills because like the song from Casey Lee Williams and her dad. And if you actually look up the full song, there's actually a whole rap part to that song too. Like I don't think it's in the actual show, unfortunately. I don't think it made it
Just
in.
saying.
Oh yeah. What else? In essence, there's a lot of plot and setup for RWBY, especially going forward. How much of it gets held over into future volumes is questionable due to the creator of RWBY unfortunately passing away during the production of Volume 3. So a lot of the ideas and namesakes that were initially Monty's idea either never made it to fruition, or they're never in their initial intention of what Monty could or would have done with those ideas going forward. And I have a lot to say about that, but I'm gonna save most of that going into volumes 3 and 4. Actually, 5. Actually, volume 5, I think, actually shows off a certain set of characters later on, and my grievance with them. But so firstly, Dakota Phoenix, how did you feel about this volume in particular? Did it do better? Did it do worse than the first volume, or was there aspects that were improved upon, and were there things that you thought could have been improved upon in volume 1 that they kind of missed improving upon in volume 2? What were your opinions?
Go first.
Let me go first?
Yeah.
Dakota, you have the floor.
My brain's kind of stalling for some reason. I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I don't know why my brain's stalling. Maybe it's because we just finished watching it.
Possibly.
Dear reboot in progress.
Oh, no. But yeah, I thought it was fun.
And?
I'm sorry.
Any notable improvements from volume 1 and going into volume 2 that you noticed that you appreciate that they improved upon?
I noticed that they don't have the silhouette quadruplets anymore. They actually have models for background characters.
It's funny. It's actually funny that that's the first thing you mentioned, because that's actually one of the first things that they that's kind of why I wanted to watch the behind the scenes stuff first with you guys, to give you an idea of what they could have or what they did improve on going forward from the first volume. Because interesting enough, it's one of those situations where like the first season was so popular, or like the first episode of season 1 was so fucking popular that they literally greenlit a second season without hesitation.
Oh, that's wild.
Oh yeah, and so because of that, they got more of an improved budget, because of, is more popular, is garnering a lot of audience favor, and is just becoming more of a notable entertaining IP that is if you do good, you get money out of it, so they're earning their funds from it. I will say,
how was the early seasons funded? Like, if it was like a YouTube show?
So, from my understanding, Rooster Teeth has been around since 1993, but it didn't really pop off in popularity until like 2001, 2003, back in like the early Xbox original era of video games, because a lot of their stuff with Red versus Blue was all done through the original Halo and basically the original Halo Forge engine, which was basically an in-game create your own map kind of and create your own game kind of a little
basically around the time machinimas. Basically around the time the machinimas were popular.
Basically, yeah. But a lot of the machinima stuff was actually even done originally. All they did was like commission to have the rights to the certain like sprites, like Sonic for Hire, for example. All they had to do was just get the rights, and even the creators for Sonic for Hire didn't know how the hell machinima kept getting like the green light from all these other games like Earthworm Jim, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario. Even Mario was a part of the Sonic for Hire franchise series, and it was a very popular comedy parody skitty kind of show. And then
was it like video game parodies?
oh yeah, most definitely there was parodies galore.
Mhm.
It was basically a comedic slice of life deal with interlocking storylines, but we could watch each episode on its own, no problem.
Yeah.
I think we can watch each episode on its own up until a certain point, because like I think by season 3 of Song for Hire they start trying to have like a cohesive narrative to an extent that kind of still goes like out of bounds with how crazy it was, because like even one of the episodes, I think I remember correctly, I think Sonic the Hedgehog kills Fox McCloud.
Oh no. Not free on free violence.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised we had to get like a furry like civil war out of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, you got stuff like that. And then Red versus Blue, it was part of that. But like what, if I remember correctly from what reading the RWBY book that I have, when it came to like certain merchandising and licensing, all they had to do was just pay Microsoft and Bungie. It's like, hey, we're using your Forge, it's like mini game. It's not a mini game. It's like it's a creator mode. It's like how there's like
it's side mode basically.
yeah, we're hey, can we use your like side mode to like create this little mini series that we're doing, and then they got the go ahead by Bungie and Microsoft, and that's basically how Rooster Teeth became popular back in the early 2000s. Was it literally started with, why are we here? And then literally they just like shoot for the moon after that. Yeah, to the point that Rooster Teeth and Red vs. Blue got so popular that in Halo 3, if you depending on what difficulty you selected for the game, if you go to like a certain like back area, you will literally hear the voice actors from Red vs. Blue reprise specific characters depending on what difficulty you're on, and they're just bantering around, and it's just hilarious. And yeah, so that's basically how Red vs. Blue basically became a popular IP through the use of Halo, basically. And now, later on, by the time they got to RWBY in 2013, they just finished their 10th season of Red vs. Blue. So that kind of gives you an idea of like how popular and how much money they were making to the point that their studio went from host. It's similar to Glitch in that regard, where like they did Murder Drones, and then you thought because they said they'd never do another Murder Drones season for some reason, you think that they wouldn't be doing anything as significant as Murder Drones in terms of quality, entertainment, and whatnot. And then look at that, they got Digital Circus. Thank you. Words. I'm mushmouth over here right now.
And 2 other shows on the way.
And yeah, and that's the awesome thing, is like there's 2 more shows on the way as well, and they look fairly interesting as well. And that's the interesting thing about Rooster Teeth, when they were starting to expand their horizons outside of Red vs. Blue with RWBY, Genlock, and then they had other like mini animated 2D cartoons like Camp and things like that. Genlock I think was fine for the first season. I don't know, I haven't heard much about the second season, but I know that it was taken off of Rooster Teeth's internet platform, their respective website, because at one point
that was like the first Max exclusive, right?
I believe so, or at least the second season was, because this was just before, you know, the streaming wars happened because of COVID and whatnot. But basically that's basically how they all got their financial stability from, was all of their merchandise selling from the Red vs. Blue content going into RWBY. And in the RWBY book that I have, they mentioned that because it is their own original IP, and that they
Mhm.
didn't need to license anything out to any other company similar to what they did with Red versus Blue. They could
Mhm.
literally just make their own T-shirts, sell it, and then make profit off of it. That's basically how they
Mhm.
appreciated the creation of RWBY
Mhm.
so much, because for the longest time they were relying on their own little crutch with Bungie and Microsoft at the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, it was probably like a godsend having an original show because you don't have to. You can't really make Halo T-shirts, 'cause it's just a Halo T-shirt.
Yeah. Or well, you could, but you would have to license it out to, and then lose
Mhm.
like portions of that profit to Bungie and Microsoft.
Mhm.
Then
I'm surprised Halo was okay with them making a show.
this, when Red versus Blue came out, this was like around the era where like things like this would like people would never have thought would pop off and become popular, or they really didn't mind some sort of fan creation, and they would just be okay with it for the most
Okay.
part. But you're not gonna get that anymore in these days, because everyone knows like if you're gonna be the next Red versus Blue, we want a cut of that, you know.
Yeah.
Which is why, unless you're making your own original thing with your own blood, sweat, and tears, it's like you're kind of screwed.
Mhm.
If they let it exist at all, cough, cough, Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. We really like live in like an age of like IPs being like valuable. Like, oh, we don't want anyone to touch it. It's ours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is an ironic thing, because like I said with Sonic for Hire, like I said, Mario was a part of it for the longest time in that series, and that's gives you an idea of how lax Nintendo must have been way back then when Mishima was handling the licensing rights with like each respective character they got from various franchises, or like literally Sonic the Hedgehog was the main character, to Mario, to Earthworm Jim, to so many games. It was like unreal, and like when I first watched Sonic for Hire for the first time, I had like such a nostalgia trip because of like how many classic games they showed off. But yeah, and so
Right. Sorry.
you go ahead.
I don't know, it reminds me of how like the Lego movie had that like Star Wars cameo, but they almost weren't able to do it because Disney was buying Star Wars. So they're like, we gotta do this. We gotta do this quick before they buy it officially.
Oh, basically that's the sad thing about a lot of projects. Disney was basically canceling on the spot when they bought the Indiana Jones and Star Wars from Lucasfilm. Was literally, there were so many amazing games, or at least games with interesting concepts that were just outright canceled off because Disney said no for some fucking reason. The last Star Wars related game that came out just before Disney was on a canceling spree was Star Wars the Old Republic MMO, which me and my father were excited for the longest time, because him and I like MMOs, him and I like Star Wars. He loved Star Wars Galaxies, which was the last Star Wars related MMO before it got canceled and discontinued. And so we were hyped for the next Star Wars MMO game to come out. And then Disney buys out Star Wars, and next thing I hear was the Boba Fett game, Star Wars 1313, got canceled, even though it was just about to finish its production, and now it's gone forever.
Boba Fett really got screwed over by Disney. Like, they were gonna have the guy who made Chronicle make a Boba Fett movie, and it was probably gonna be cool, but they chickened out after his Fantastic Four movie sucked.
Yeah, and what's ironic about that too is that the guy who did the Fan Forsic movie, he has even like a month later, he had even said that, hey, just to let you know, there's a lot of things I couldn't have done in my vision, so just a heads up if it sucks. That's basically his tweet, right? Like a week or two after Fan Forsic came out. So
that movie ruined his career.
Oh, I bet.
It's a combination of him not being really a right fit for Fantastic Four and just executive meddling, just fucking the movie over, and he didn't really get to do what he wanted.
I think that was just more executive meddling because like it was so butchered in terms of idea that literally nothing about Fan Four Stick was the Fantastic Four. That's why it's literally called
Yeah.
Fan Four Stick now, because like there is a differentiating between the actual Fantastic Four between and that movie, because like there's nothing aside from the powers, nothing powers and names, nothing in that movie was Fantastic Four. Nothing.
Nope, not at all.
I hope that Mr. Fantastic in that becomes the Maker in the MCU, though. I think that would be funny.
I would actually be on board for that. I would actually really appreciate that I do believe people deserve second chances when it comes to reprising their roles, because half the time with actors, at least, except for Snow White, but I'm not gonna dive into that dumpster fire.
No.
They're just doing what they think. They're just doing what they're being told to do. Basically, that's what the actors are doing. I mean, a big example of this would be like Mark Hamill with The Last Jedi, where he was borderline like trying his best to actually do ideas or pitch ideas that would appease the fans, and then he was shot down at every turn, and to the point where at a fucking interview for the premiere of Last Jedi, he literally outright says, "Yeah, temper your expectations, I guess," and right next to Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson too, and they were pissed about him basically warning fans about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, back to RWBY.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there were many of the improvements, like Dakota mentioned just prior to our little tangent there, of how the background increased significantly, where originally they had just shadowy figures of, copy and paste characters in the background to pretty much have a justification for new background noise, more or less. And then finally they added like actual color, texture, and individuality between each character as well. So
Actually, it looks like a crowded school now instead of like 4 people and a couple PNGs.
yes, which I do appreciate that, but that kind of also little bit to me kind of loses a little bit of that luster. I love that how do you say this? That je ne sais quoi that RWBY was initially known for when it was basically not so much an independent animation studio like Glitch, but like more of it had that indie vibe to it.
Yeah.
It had like a charm to it.
Yes.
There was a charm to the jank.
Indeed.
So Phoenix, what are your opinions on the possible improvements? Did it hold up for you after all these years of watching it so many times to now, to things that have been noticeable improvements for you and whatnot between volumes 1 and 2?
I could definitely see the improvements in not only animation but also model quality and backgrounds, along with writing, because it feels like they wanted to spend more time, I guess, getting into characters' backstories and establishing the personalities a little more, especially with the main 4, with, Yang being tough, but still having a side goal that involves her family, with Blake basically explaining how she became part of the White Fang and why she, I guess, wants to reclaim it. Weiss with, even if she's still a slight on the profit side, she still understands that even if she has a responsibility as a Shani, she still has to accept the reality that things aren't always going to be handed to her. And then with RWBY, she still wants to be the hero that she saw in the books, but knows that not everything is in black and white.
Not everything's a fairy tale.
Exactly. And also, I'm just gonna say this right now. The moment I saw Cinder and the way she moved, I immediately knew I was going to hate her. Like Umbridge levels of hate her. Not like Bellatrix, but oh yeah, she's a villain who you love to hate because she's so sinister. No, I hate her in a way that I want her dead ASAP.
Well,
But anyway,
hopefully next volume appeases that dream of yours a little bit.
yeah, in a sense.
So animation wise, what's everyone's opinions on it? Dakota, you have the floor.
Well, I like some of the new character designs, and again, like now that there's more like more background characters is kind of neat. I think they went to like more places this season, didn't they? Kind of felt.
Yes,
Yeah.
they explored
Hmm.
a little bit of the outskirts of Vale, most notably, and this is what I also loved about RWBY growing up. It was like the little itty bits of like world building of the world of Remnant, where
Mhm.
like they were wanting to expand um Beacon's city to just be more expansive, being able to you know explore more job opportunities and whatnot, and safe travel between from point A to point B. Because as we watched in the World of Remnant videos before watching Volume 2, they talk about how the only way to basically
Mhm.
go about travel, even though it's not necessarily even the safest travel, as Osmond
Mhm.
points out to Ironwood, is basically flying from point A to point B, which
Mhm.
that's not entirely well, it's effective, but like when you have like creatures that are like airborne, like the Nevermore and other things,
Mhm.
it's like not gonna be a very you're not gonna be in it for a good time. And then
Mhm.
so they wanted to basically uh explore or expand into Mount Glen, which unfortunately they underestimated the grim infestation for the surrounding area. They got
Mhm.
overrun, and then they pretty much retreated to the underground. And then when they tried to basically make an underground city
Mhm.
for themselves, they pretty much mined their way into a pit full of grim that basically massacred the remainder of
Yeah,
civilians.
they done fucked up.
Hmm. And so it's interesting that it's world building, and it basically leaves a reminder for everyone in the world of Remnants and all the RWBY characters that like this
Mhm.
is an example of learning from history, so you don't make that same mistake again. And which is why I like Oobleck's character in that regard, and why his reason for becoming a huntsman
Mhm.
uh is justifiable compared to the
Mhm.
original notions of each when he was talking to each individual
Mhm.
girl about their reasons for becoming a huntress.
Mhm. But you didn't care about Ruby's reason.
I think that's more or less because he trusts Ozpin, because Ozpin basically pushed her
Mhm.
past like the regular past regular protocol into basically
Mhm.
bumping her up from like grade school to high school, basically.
The way
Or
I kind of interpreted it was kind of like he could sense that like all the three other girls basically have kind of like a mental conflict and like a reasoning why they want to do this. And he's basically like, why do you want to do this? Why do you really want to do this? Work through your like mental issues and like actually figure out what you want to do. While Ruby's just like, oh, Ruby just wants to do it because it's cool. I don't really care about. She doesn't really need to learn a lesson right now.
I think that's a good point as well. I think that was actually going to be what I was going to segue into as well. Um,
Mm,
but like how everyone else has like a mental conflict that they're basically
mm,
trying to overcome.
mm,
Ruby does not have that because of her childlike wonder.
yeah.
Which makes her a good example of what a static character is, because static characters are called that because they are basically plateaued in terms of character development, for the most part, I should say. Whereas RWBY, she like is always that charismatic, childlike whimsy that is always like optimistic and always looking on the bright side, to the point where she's even mentoring other team leaders like she did with Jean back in Volume 1. And then you have Yang with mommy issues. You got Blake with borderline existential crisis because of her biology, being a former White Fang member, to learning to how she even explains her backstory a little bit is like how she's trying not to run away anymore. And then Weiss wanting to prove herself as an independent person, separated away from her wealth and family status. Whereas RWBY has none of that conflict.
Yeah.
Ruby's just vibing. She don't need to learn a lesson. He's like, yeah, there's nothing really I could say to her. She's just kind of a goober.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Basically. She is a big goober. Big gooby wooey. So we talked about animation, talked about characters.
I will say, when they went to that ruined city, I was just kind of like, the unrendered city. Kind of looked like a Roblox town.
Kinda.
Yeah.
What else should we animation wise, everyone is in agreement that it was a great improvement from volume 1 to 2. The story unfolding for everyone. How's everyone on that boat?
I like where it's going.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel about the story so far, going from basically a bunch of kids in high school basically trying to learn how to slay monsters, and then you have like an expanding narrative with like people hacking into the system of the communication tower, to offing White Fang members that are trying to what's the run away from their cults, basically, to the elder character, the elder professional huntsman, like the Ozpin, Ironwood, and Glinda, how like there's like a cabal of adults that are trying to downplay the severity of what is happening in the world around them.
Yeah.
What was your opinions on those, Dakota?
Well, it does feel like the story's finally kicking off, where it's kind of like, first was just kind of like, it was just like, oh, we're in a school, but now we're kind of have like more of like, they kind of have like a mission goal now, where it's kind of like, we gotta stop these smuggler guys, like the redheaded dude, the Torchic.
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 Yeah, Torchic. We gotta stop Torchic. I do kind of feel like it's gonna be kind of one of those shows where it's like, it starts off with like, oh, look at these silly characters and their silly little antics, right? Like, oh, they have a lot of personality, more of character focus, but it's gonna slowly shift into kind of like lore mission focus, where they're just gonna be sidelined. But like, so far it's pretty interesting. It kind of, I don't know, maybe if I wasn't paying attention, but it just kind of felt like a little, it's kind of like, oh, okay, here's like their mission. They now have a mission. Like, oh, I'm following what's going on. Like, they're stopping those like smuggler guys, those robber guys. But it's just like, oh, that's what it's about now. We gotta stop those smuggler guys, the White Fang.
Yeah, so we basically have like a side plot going on basically through Blake's experience with the White Fang and how it was more or less picking up and finishing off kinda where it left off with volume 1 at the docks, where they basically got a little sample of what is to come going into volume 2. And then in volume 2, I will tell you now, is going to be a sample of what's going to happen in volume 3. Now, speaking to characters, we get introduced and get clarified on many other characters. Penny, for example, who all immediately thought she was a robot. Raise your
Or
hand.
robot.
Raise his
I
hand.
would if. Wait, say something. Okay, see my hand raised when I talk.
Yeah, I'll even raise my hands too. Yeah, so that's the neat thing about Penny, and her backstory of how she came to be won't be revealed for quite some time. By the way, but yeah, she is a robot, and she is has a soul, quite literally, because that is the manifestation of what aura is spiritual energy of the soul. And
Interesting.
yes, and because Grimm are creatures of negativity and malice, they don't have a soul. So the fact that a literal robot has more humanity than the creatures of Grimm says wonders.
Is the dust the same as aura?
No, so what?
Okay, never mind then.
So what dust is that they're naturally occurring minerals found across the world of Remnant, and they can be used as basically anything more or less. So like, oh, you want gas for your car, you gotta use combustion dust. You want your TV to run on electricity, you got the lightning dust, and so on and so forth.
It's like, oh, my car broke down. Could you give me some? Sure. Let me just like get you some, like, get some coke for your car to snort, and you're good to go.
Basically, especially in like the forms of like you got like the crystals, yeah, and then you get like literal like powdered dust variants of that as well. But it's interesting that with the utilization of dust, it is very interesting because like how in the World of Remnant video that we watched leading into the main show, they talk about how it can literally be used for just about any application. Like you can use it for your electronics, you can use it in your weapons, you can use it in your clothes, which I thought that was really interesting. And and Cinder in her espionage outfit when she was breaking into the communication tower, quite literally demonstrates what it looks like to infuse your clothing with dust. And then later on, when they're talking about the break-in, you know, Ironwood even says this kind of craftsmanship is like as old as time. So that gives you a world-building idea of how long humanity itself has been utilizing such devices. And so, speaking of other new characters, we get more properly reintroduced to Cinder Fall. We got introduced to her prior in the behind the scenes of the Rooster Teeth Studio Diaries, where she's voiced by Jessica Negri. And what is your opinions of Cinder so far, Dakota?
I know she's just kind of like, okay, we're the bad guys who are hiding in the school, but I don't really know what she's up to really, because like they don't give a fuck. She didn't give a fuck about the dust, right? And they were just using it to blow up those tunnels.
Yes.
So, like,
yes. More or less.
I mean, I feel like they could have kept the dust and sold it to fund more evil plans, but okay. Like, yeah, like, oh, we don't need the dust for our plans anymore. Like, yeah, but like, it's expensive. Like, you could sell it.
What's a good example of this?
Like, makes me think of that like Joker bit in The Dark Knight where he has like this stack of money and he sets it on fire and he's like, it's not about the money.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
That's actually more or less what
Mm.
this was entailing in a sense. This
Mm.
the whole explosions and everything, I promise will make sense once we get
Mm.
into volume 3.
Mm. Did she mention that happened too early? Like they were like in the school, like they're doing this right now? God damn it.
Yes, they like this is supposed to be this isn't
Mm.
for until like a few days later. That's basically what Emerald says.
Mm. Yeah, I
And
think they just wanted to like make a tunnel for all the monsters to cause chaos and kill people, but it just happened too early. And like, damn, we're gonna blow our cover. We gotta stop it.
yes, that's why I won't say more on that, but you're getting the right idea, Dakota. I will tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
On top now, I just mentioned her name. What is your opinion on Emerald and Mercury?
Are those the two henchmen?
Yes.
Yeah, Emerald is the green-haired one with
Yeah,
the brown skin, and Mercury is the one with the gray hair,
Mhm.
obviously.
Well, like the guy kind of seems like he's just like, ooh, I'm evil. I kind of have a wonder if like the girl, like Emerald's probably gonna get redeemed or something because they just kind of seem like, oh, they have like a more of like a like less evilish personality, but I don't know. I like their character design.
Yeah, I love Emerald's character design. She is very
Mm.
pretty with her color coordination, her color palette, and everything.
Mm.
That's the amazing thing with RWBY. Like when it comes to their color designs, like they know how to implement it properly most of the time. But then
Mm.
you get into later seasons, but I won't talk about that until later.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah. What do you think about Mercury's fight with Pyrrha? Do you really think he forfeit that fight, or do you think he could have actually taken her?
I don't know. I don't think he really gave a fuck about being her. Like I think like because he was like basically saying that like I was just trying to figure out what her like aura power was. It's just kind of like I don't
Yeah.
really care about being her. I just wanted to like test her. So like it could have probably could have gone either way. Maybe he could have been her, but like he's just like I don't think he'd really just give a fuck.
There's a possibility he could have, but like given her,
Mm.
once you figure out I will say when we get into volume 3, there is going to be glimpses into backstories of how Cinder recruited both Emerald and Mercury. And when you
Mhm.
get introduced to Mercury, I don't think Mercury would have been able to beat Hera because of certain
Mm.
Factors.
Mm.
let's just say Hera would have a leg up on Mercury. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So we got just talked about Penny some more. We talked about Cinder. We talked about Mercury and Emerald. Now we also got introduced to a new character as well. We got introduced to General James Ironwood. What do you think of his
Mhm.
character so far?
Stick in the mud.
Like I don't like there's a possibility he could like not necessarily turn evil but become antagonistic, but like I feel like he has good intentions, so I don't necessarily think that's gonna happen. There'll probably be a big misunderstanding thing because war general gonna be like war gun little gun happy, but like he doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah, he's very disciplined. He's
Mhm.
very devoted. He is a genuinely good character.
Mhm.
But this is why I say in later seasons they kind of like drop in certain creativity. Because when you find out what his semblance is, it's just so stupid. It's not.
Mhm.
It's not. Like I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's not even
Mhm.
like a semblance. It's just like it's like critical thinking is more or less what
Mhm.
his.
My power is I'm smart.
Let's just say this much. In the world of RWBY, he's the Batman.
Okay. He's Batman. Oh, okay. So his semblance is prep time?
Nah, I think his semblance is dead parents.
You're
but
both right, but yes.
but
He doesn't really have a semblance per se.
Aw.
He's just really clever.
Bane, hello, what the bunny doing? We out.
Hello, babe.
Why the bonk? We are talking
not the
about. Well, that's true, but anyway, we are talking about RWBY Volume 2 right now. We just got finished watching it like about 30 minutes ago or so, and we are in the middle of just yapping about it. So currently, because bonk, Anna, we are just talking about like the new characters that or characters that basically got re-explained or reintroduced from Volume 1 to new characters that are being introduced as we speak. So James Ironwood. So so the thing about Ozpin and his little cabal of followers is that they're all based off of the Wizard of Oz characters.
Interesting.
Is
he the Tin Man?
I like how you immediately say it. Yes, he is the Tin Man. You will, and in Volume 3, you will find out why he got the Tin Man motif out of the Wizard of Oz cabal.
Well, I'm assuming because he builds robots.
Oh, yeah, let's go with that.
Well, that's also a factor, yes.
Okay. Does he have an axe like the Tin Man?
He has a cool badass magnum that acts as like a knife, kinda. But
yeah, he doesn't have a wood axe though. He's a Tin Man, but not a lumberjack, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a
They
misopportunity.
could have gave him like a pickaxe that's also a shotgun or something.
That could work, but yeah.
That could have worked, yes.
And after that, what happens after? Who else gets reviews? So we got little tidbits.
Neo,
yes. Let's talk about Neo and how like she like literally made like I don't want to say she's like one of those characters like Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil 8 that like shattered the internet, but like she was so. The thing about RWBY going into Volume 2 with the increased budget, they were actually starting to have legitimate voice actors or actual actors be able to voice these characters going forward. Do you know who was originally supposed to be the voice actor? I thought it was Jen Taylor, but no, she's the narrator going into a certain character I won't say here. But the voice of Cortana from the original Halo games is the narrator, by the way.
Sick.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. And do you want to know who was supposed to be originally the voice of Neapolitan?
Who?
You're gonna fucking laugh at this if you know who this this actor is.
Is it Napoleon Dynamite?
Close.
Oh.
Sarah Silverman.
That's like the lady comedian, right?
Yes, she was
Sarah fucking Silverman.
Yes, she was a
Vanellope Von Sweets.
Yeah, she was originally supposed to be Neapolitan, but because of time.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I just cannot see her voicing Neo at all.
Which character is Neapolitan? I don't remember.
The one with the pink.
The Neapolitan girl.
Mute. The one that's mute and had the umbrella.
The umbrella girl, the one who's like really short. Okay.
Yes.
She didn't have any lines at all. Is that why they really went Sarah Silverman?
No.
So they just didn't give her lines.
So
there was a time constraint.
Yes, there was time constraints, and so they couldn't get Sarah Silverman to voice the lines for Neapolitan. And here's the best part about Monty Ohm was that he still loved the character design so much that he basically threw in the character without letting upper management know. So he so it quite literally. Let me actually pull up her character profile in my RWBY book.
Was this the one you mentioned who was just mute?
Yes, this is her.
That's kind of was she mute because they couldn't get the voice actor they wanted?
Yes.
That's kind of
more
funny.
or less,
yes, and so because of that they made her mute. They made her mute because of that, and ironically, normally that would sometimes backfire on certain characters, but for Neapolitan, it was the exact opposite. She exploded in popularity.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll pull up her character profile. Okay, Neapolitan. Neapolitan was one of the most stressful moments from Volume 2, confesses Miles Luna. We had gotten word that we might be able to work with a celebrity voice actor on the show, but we needed a character for her. Monty came up with this idea of giving Torchwick a sidekick. That hoped-for voice actress was comedian Sarah Silverman.
Raking up a little bit.
Sorry. That hoped-for voice actress was comedian Sarah Silverman, from Wreck-It Ralph, for example. But unfortunately, the opportunity never solidified. However, went ahead with building out Neapolitan as a fully realized character. Monty tucked himself away in his office and added Neapolitan to the end of the mech fight without telling anyone, says Miles Luna. We panicked because we hadn't run it by anybody. It could get stressful when Monty did whatever he wanted. And that's the cool thing about Monty Ohm, is that he did things when he wanted to do things. The closest person I can relate to when it comes to being a go-getter like that, and unfortunately he passed away as well just 3 years after Monty Ohm, was Stanley Martin Lieber, aka Stan Lee from Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Because back in the 1990s, there was this thing called the Comics Code Association, which was basically a censorship on specific genres of comic books. Like, you can't have partial nudity, so if you want a sexy character, that's a no-go. You can't have any references towards drugs or alcohol, so that was a no-go as well. And it wasn't until like Image Comics with Todd McFarlane's Spawn said, fuck it, we're just gonna ball, and we're just going to make adult comics and make them blatantly obvious that these are adult comics. You know, literally, I think like the first couple issues of Spawn, it literally ends up with them violently like massacring a PDF file.
Didn't like one of like the big things that helped comics be able to do R-rated stuff was they invented the word graphic novel.
I believe that was one of the factors. Is yes, but the thing about the Comics Code Association is that it finally got removed after Stan Lee's
Passing?
not his passing. No, this was back in the 1990s. What happened?
Oh, right.
What happened was there was this drug awareness program going on, and they asked Stan Lee to have Marvel create a Spider-Man comic, talking about like don't do drugs, kids, that kind of shit.
The Harry Osborn one.
So a PSA in a comic form.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
I remember watching a documentary about that. They basically like did that whole Harry Osborn thing where he gets addicted to drugs and like the Goblin serum, but then like the comic authority was like, this you can't, there's too much, there's a panel with just a bunch of drugs, you can't do that, and they had to be like, no, this is a PSA, we're telling kids not to do drugs, and that's how they like got it passed through.
it wasn't that particular scene. So what happens in this Spider-Man comic was basically there was a guy who was high on methamphetamines, and he was just dancing and prancing about on a New York building, and he basically trips off the ledge and falls to his is beginning to fall to his death. Thankfully, Spider-Man comes in swinging and saves the day and saves him from, you know, dying upon impact. And Spider-Man goes to get his backpack for college or something like that, and he's literally monologuing to himself like, how can I tell people, make aware that like the bad side effects of doing drugs and whatnot, and how it could get you into trouble and danger like that guy I just saved. So so it wasn't a direct preach to the choir or preaching to the reader. It was more of an indirect voluntary mindfulness of the reader to take in the nuance of the situation that happened between the guy high off on meth falling to his death. You know, hey, if you're on meth, you're gonna fucking die. to not, and then not everyone's gonna be a Spider-Man to save the day. And so basically that was more or less that comic's way of doing the drug awareness PSA. Instead of like, don't do drugs, kids, always eat your vitamins and say your prayers. And no, that
more of like a scare tactic, like this is what's gonna happen,
basically.
fuck around, find out.
So Stan Lee wanted to publish that comic, but the Comic Book Association said no, because this guy's clearly high on methamphetamine, so we can't allow you to publish this. And he's like, well, then what the fuck is the point? You want me to do a drug awareness comic, but you don't want me to show what happens if you do drugs. What? And so he said fuck it, and published it anyways. And it was like the first comic book in this shit started back in the 1950s, 1960s, I think. So the first comic book within 30 to 40 years to be published without a Comic Book Association sticker of approval. And because well, here's the best part about that comic: it was effective. It actually worked. It actually raised awareness properly for others not to do drugs and not to partake in drinking and smoking and shit like that. And it was such a big impact that the Comic Book Association pretty much got overturned. And that's why in this day and age of comic books, you will not see a Comic Book Association sticker on any comics anymore, except for like maybe retro reprints of comic books from back in the day. Basically people who make like alternate cover pages for comic books with that sticker, because like, oh, we're doing a retro comic, let's just use the sticker of what comics had back in the day.
I remember that whole thing. We almost didn't get the Hulk because of it, because like their logic was like, we don't like how you're vilifying the military, and Stan Lee was just like, no, it's more of kind of like a misunderstanding, like the military thinks they're fighting a monster, they're not actually the bad guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
And it was because of the Comic Book Association. For the longest time, we couldn't get like things like vampires or zombies in comic books for the longest time. That was actually why Morbius was created. It was literally Morbin time to pretty much have a workaround to the Comic Book Association. And so instead of an actual undead vampire, he is a living vampire. And so that's how they got around it.
Loopholes.
Yeah, and doesn't he like suck plasma instead of blood?
He does both, but he tries not to do blood because that would actually make him more of a ravenous vampire.
Yeah, I think it alternates depending on like the version and sensors. Like I know, like in like the cartoon, it was like plasma.
Yeah. But yeah, and back to RWBY real quick. That's basically how Neapolitan came to be, was because of Monty basically working around management, trying to stall his own creativity for his own show. And on top of that, the funny thing about Neapolitan was that her character was inspired by both his wife and the fact that a cosplayer did a recolored gender swap of Roman Torchwick. That's basically how Neapolitan came about, was because of that gender swap. Oh, train.
So you're telling me Monty's wife is short?
I think she is, now you actually asked that. I actually have to...
Like my first thought was like, what was it, like Yang like standing face to face with, like, damn, she's short. Either she's short or Yang is tall.
Oh no, she is short. Like,
yeah,
I forgot like how tall Neapolitan actually is. I'm looking that up right now. Now that I bring that up, because she is short.
Neapolitan height.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like all the characters kind of have like similar height.
Canonically, she is 4 foot 6 inches.
Damn.
Dang. Small Neapolitan.
Yeah, but like she whoops ass, as seen when she like dogged Yang. Then what else about Neapolitan can we talk about? Because like she's just amazing. What do you think of her semblance so far?
What exactly was it? Could she like turn solid and teleport?
I'll read what it says in here real quick. It's her semblance is named Overactive Imagination. Neoplasm can generate physical illusions that trick everyone in viewing range, and which shatter into fragments when dispelled. Her semblance is essentially useful for disguise, with Neo assuming cover identities, blah blah blah. Monteon recalled the practical origins of Neo's semblance when animating the first appearance as Torchwick's getaway driver. I needed them to exit the scene. They could get in the ship and get away, but I was like, that's hard to animate. So instead, let's just have them shatter into glass. That's simple, and that became her illusionary ability.
Yeah.
So she can just like kind of like make illusion copies of herself and just like leave.
Basically, yeah. So like when she was bowing her head when she was introduced with her when she saved Torchwick, that was basically her illusion kicking in as she was basically running away with Torchwick into their getaway car.
Yep.
Isn't that kind of similar to Blake's semblance, where she can just basically make a copy of herself and run away?
Well, the big difference is that with Blake, she creates a shadow copy of herself, but she's still physically there. With Neo,
so it's more
her
of like
illusions
a clone.
Well, with Blake gets a clone. With Neo, she creates a sort of illusionary cloak around her and I guess her allies, making it so while they only see the illusion, the real her is running away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it even says for Blake's semblance is even called Shadow. By tapping her semblance, Blake conjures a wispy duplicate of herself. According to Carrie Shacross, it's a psychological manifestation of her desire to shrink from combat. It's her fallback, a version of herself that she leaves behind, she says. Blake uses her shadows to distract enemies or shield herself from direct attacks. With Dust, Blake can use Gamble Shroud to saturate her clones with elemental properties. Fire clones explode. Earth clones are rock-solid shields, as we saw from her fight with Roman. And Ice clones can insta-freeze around an enemy's weapon and trap them in place. So it's like... I don't think...
One can fight, one is just kind of just like an image.
Yes, more or less. It just allows her to fall back, basically. And take
kind
like...
of same powers, though. Even there is like a difference, but it's kind of like a very minor difference.
Minor difference, but a difference nonetheless.
Yeah. One can punch a couple times. The other is just kind of like, "Hi, I'm over here." You touch it and it disappears.
More or less, yeah. So
she got Loki powers.
So we got introduced and reacquainted with Penny, Cinder, Emerald, Mercury, Ironwood, Neapolitan. Best character introduction there. Literally, like, you cannot ask for a better character introduction with an amazing character design like hers. It's literally, she's just an ice cream lady. Sun and Neptune. Oh, Neptune. We got introduced to Neptune in this volume. What do you think of him so far?
He looks like Generator Rex with blue hair. That was my first thoughts.
We get a little bit more of him and Sun in volume 3 a little bit. Unfortunately, after that, they do in future seasons get sidelined up until the one of the novels that takes place after between the events of volumes 3 and 4.
Is there like running bit gonna be like Sun and like Neptune are be like, yeah, like aren't you gonna come help us fight this battle? Like, yeah, we can't. We gotta go do something silly. Sorry.
Not quite.
More so in
like
RWBY
they do get involved. Well, yeah, that's not canon, but they do get involved. But one of them doesn't really get involved too much later in the series. I'm not gonna say which one though.
Mhm.
Seemed like they were kind of like conveniently avoiding stuff. Like, yeah, we do want to help you stop the bad guys, but also we don't want to be where the big battle is, and we're gonna go like get a soda or something.
That's just that's just the comedic part to them. They do get involved.
Okay.
They're not just they don't always blow off the fight.
All right.
Mhm. Um. Uh. And the funny thing about Neptune being like a cool, suave kind of character, but like,
Mhm.
so Neptune, as you can tell by his namesake, he's named after the Roman god of the seas.
Mhm.
But you're gonna laugh, uh, when we get into about him in Volume 3. Uh,
Mhm.
and so then after Neptune, we got Velvet. We got Velvet Scarlatina being introduced. She is officially confirmed Australian, or Australian sounding, I should say, because Australia doesn't exist in RWBY.
It'd be
But
funny if it was like the only
And
real
voiced by
continent.
and voiced by a fan.
and
Mhm.
it would be actually interesting if Australia would be a thing in RWBY, considering that Australia is such a non-existent place. Clearly not real, just like Canada.
You know, that'd
Oi!
be so funny if there was a fantasy show, but like their version of Atlantis is just like an actual like continent or country in our world.
That'd be interesting. I would actually like to
Like the lost land of Australia, the world down under.
Lol.
That's just a myth.
But yeah, as Phoenix was mentioning, yeah, voiced by a fan. That was a really cool thing. Like, I never knew that Katie Ward was like a legitimate fan of RWBY, and so that was really interesting. And that's another cool thing about RWBY back in the day, and you're gonna hear that a lot going forward. By the time we hit Volume 4 to Volume 9, is that you're gonna hear me say that a lot. But because that's how a lot of things were back in the early stages, at least the first 3 volumes of RWBY, was that it was so fan driven that even Velvet's own outfit, armor outfit, was literally designed by a fan.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so that's how much they like paid attention and appreciated their fans. Was like, hey, you want to design one of our characters? We'll let you do it.
Mhm.
So we get reintroduced to Velvet, and then oh my god, I think like aside from Neapolitan, we got like one of the best introductions to a team in RWBY. So in Volume 2, I should say at least. How do you feel about Team Coffee, Dakota?
They seemed cool. Like they just, I think they're gonna be more important going on forward, right?
Uh,
Like, see,
uh,
no.
well, yesn't, because they do have like a somewhat prominent role going into Volume 3, and they are the main characters for the RWBY spin-off novels.
Okay.
Like I mentioned before, but aside from that,
So they're just basically like literally just like background side characters, but they have like spin-off books.
I want to say
Basically.
they're background side characters because they are important. Because when Team Coffee was formed, from what the book says, they were basically an example of what to expect RWBY to be when they progress further in their studies at Beacon Academy. Because Team RWBY are juniors to Team Coffee, because they are like a grade or two ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you get
So they're literally just introduced. Like, don't these guys look cool by the book?
no. This was like they were introduced long before the book came out. So this was the volume.
Yeah,
2.
yeah, I know. Like, but like the buddy girl was like they even mentioned the behind the scenes. The buddy girl was just kind of like I don't, not a bit like in a joke character, but just kind of like just an incidental background character, just to, like introduce the concept of like the prejudice between humans and faunus. But then like they decide to like develop them into like an actual character. So they were background characters, but they basically got kind of like Billy and Mandy's spin-off movie Under Fist, where they just took a bunch of background characters and put them on a superhero team. And like maybe we'll make a spin-off. Probably not though.
More or less. Because it's really hard to say because with a lot of planning that Monty, Miles, and Carrie normally do, because like up until volume 3, a lot of planning was done a little bit in advance. Because like for example, when we get into in the behind the scenes where they show off decorating and coloring Velvet's outfit, they talk about her weapon, and Monty like winks at the camera. It's like, you're not gonna see that for a while, and which by the next volume you do get to see it, and it's really fucking badass. And what her and what her semblance is really intriguing. It's not, I want to say it's not a bad semblance, but it's not as in your face or explosive or telling as Yang, Blake, Ruby, or Weiss's semblance, where it's like a very obvious superpower, whereas for Velvet it's like what's the best, it's not really a spoiler, well, I guess it would be if considering that how she shows it off in volume 3. So I won't talk about her semblance then. I'll talk about it next week, that's for sure. But yeah. So how do you feel about Coco kicking that Beowulf in the dick?
I must have like looked away. I don't remember anyone kicking a crotch.
Rah!
I do. It was hilarious.
Was that the one with the sunglasses
Yep.
who like went up to its
Yeah.
face? Okay, then I might have saw it. Like, you broke my favorite clothing store.
Prepare to die.
Also, Coco may or may not be gay for Velvet, according to the fans.
Oh no, actually they did confirm it in the novel, by the way.
Hell yeah.
She is canonically lesbian.
Sick.
She's in Lesbians with Velvet. Did you expect her purse to turn into a fucking Gatling gun?
Yes.
When I first watched that way back when, back in 2014, I would never have expected that. Like, cause like, so, and that's the funny thing about a lot of the weapons in RWBY was Monty always had an idea for each weapon to be cosplayable. Like, if it can be made through a 3D printer, that's what he expects it to. I mean, I guess you can 3D print the Gatling gun, but like from being a small purse into an expansive giant fucking arsenal like that, not so much. And there are many well-talented cosplayers that legitimately have formative weapons that you see in the show. Like, they will can and will turn their Ruby sniper form into the actual scythe. They're that well made with these cosplayers. So, like, a lot of stuff that you will see in terms of weapon and clothes design is meant for cosplayers to cosplay, basically.
A lot of their weapons are like really detailed. It's like when they showed like the cosplayers in the behind the scenes, it's like, damn, that must have been really hard to make Ruby's scythe. Like the detail on it.
Oh yeah, most likely, because like literally the inspiration for Ruby Snipe, I'm gonna call it Snipe from now on, because that's actually a very that's a very appropriate. I'm surprised no one actually came up with that name, because that's actually wow. I'm gonna trademark that now.
Her sniper rifle.
See that, it rolls off the tongue too. But yeah, with Ruby's sniper rifle, it was literally just based off of a real life sniper. And the thing about the power of the sniper it was originally designed from, holy shit. If you that sniper that Ruby's weapon is based off of is actually designed to take down helicopters.
Oh dang.
Yeah, so the kickback.
That one was the first thing they fought was a bird.
Maybe it could have been, but like it's a possibility. But yeah, and that's why the kickback and the recoil from the sniper literally sends Ruby flying, and basically her main way of her personal fighting style preference.
Hmm.
Um. Oh, sorry. Something on my throat. What else? What else? What else? Team Coffee. What I don't kind of was a missed opportunity was for Team Coffee for me in volumes 2 and 3 was the underutilization of Fox Alistair.
Hmm.
Fox Alistair is that red-haired, darker complexion fellow with the,
Mhm.
and I'm my favorite color is orange, and so the fact that he's a Fox-based individual character with
Mhm.
literal orange motifs and whatnot because he's named after a fox is and again, this is what I love about Montiome is that if it sounds like a color, looks like a color, or could be perceived as a color, it's going to be like their color scheme for the
Mhm.
character. Um, he doesn't, and it's not really integral to the plot of Ruby in Volume 3, especially. Well, it's actually kind of badass because, like, you saw him just like juggling that Ursa around to the point where like it literally explodes, and like it's pointy spikes on its back literally pincers everything around it as like a fucking
Mhm.
grenade. Here's the cool thing about Fox when he did that is that he's canonically blind.
Oh dang!
Yeah, and he whooped that fucking Ursa's ass to like to the next year.
So he like Daredevil.
Yes and no, because it's revealed in the Ruby novel that
Mhm.
he has his semblance is telepathy.
Okay, so like he sees through everyone else's eyes.
More or less, he like senses people's like auras, and he can basically read minds and communicate non-verbally that way. So like,
Okay,
yeah. So it's a good
kind of
like
a kind of convenient power for a blind person
oh, it
in this
really,
universe.
it really is. It's actually very helpful for him. That's why it's like there was like this fan art of Fox versus Neapolitan,
Mhm.
where Neapolitan is trying to use her illusions on him, but like it's not fucking working because he's fucking blind, and his aura sensing mind reading ability is like a perfect countermeasure for Neapolitan.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Yatsuhashi, the big sword dude. Uh, Uh, there's like only like a small fucking section for him, unfortunately. Like him and Fox have like the least screen time among Team Coffee, and it's unfortunate because he like Yatsuhashi is the powerhouse of the team, whereas
Hmm.
Yatsuhashi Daichi, voiced by Joe McDonald, the final member of Team Coffee, wears armor over his left shoulder and can swing his oversized sword with enough force to trigger quakes. In Japanese, Yasuhashi is a cinnamon-flavored confectionery. That's literally all his his info in this book, compared to like Velvet having like a whole fucking page section for her.
Mhm. How's their team's name spelled? Because I know like all their teams are like have like funny spellings.
CFVY.
CFVY. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it's coffee. And
Coffee.
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 And their main theme song, as you heard when they get introduced, is Caffeine. That's literally their theme song. And like,
Interesting.
yeah, and every time I rewatch that scene, I get so fucking hyped. And back
I'm
when
gonna start calling. I'm gonna start calling the show RWBY.
I
RWBY.
Rubby.
Mm-hmm.
It's RWBY Tuesday.
Rubby Tuesday. Ooh.
RWBY Ducky.
Um. All right, and I think probably, I won't want to say she's the most important new character we get introduced, because we won't be properly introduced to this character until halfway through Volume 4. So we got like 2.5 volumes until we actually get introduced to this character, and then we won't really see how her character is properly until the volume after that. Like I said before, the writing and everything takes a little bit of a dip in future volumes, and which is unfortunate. But what can you do when your creator for the series is gone by this time? I don't know if I want to say her name, but you do see her again at the end credit scene. And actually, Dakota, who do you think that is? That face reveal and everything. Thank you. I didn't even have to. So the funny thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
When she name dropped the dead mom to like Blake, I'm like, oh, that's Chekhov's gun. they basically like How to Train Your Dragon is 2ing this shit.
So that was originally the idea for her mother. Back when their animation 3D animation program was what it is now. But when you get reintroduced to her again, when they have the new animation program usage and everything in Volume 4, she looks noticeably different, but still looks a little bit like you can tell that's still Yang's mom.
Yeah.
And do you want to know something that will probably piss you off? Well, piss you off about that sequence of meeting her mom IRL for the first time? Two things. It was purposely a recolor of Yang's model just for simplicity's sake, so to save time and effort. And two, is non-canon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it a dream?
When they officially made that scene non-canon for whatever fucking reason, they pretty much said, hey, this is just a dream sequence. This is just in Yang's
You can't
head.
just make a scene in a show non-canon. It's a scene in the show.
Yeah. And
is it like those like dumb dream sequences in like the Batman vs Superman movie?
I want to say it's because originally it was supposed to be a part of the actual show, but by the time Monty passed away and going into Volume 3, there was no... Because Yang's mom was supposed to have a extra fight scenes, because she was supposed to be... I think in Volume 3, she was supposed to fight Team Juniper as a foretelling or warning to them about the coming events that's going to happen in Volume 3. But they decided to pitch that idea. So basically, they had no excuse to reintegrate Yang's mom.
So they just didn't use the character in the whole season.
They do in Volume 4 when they reintroduce her and reestablish her character and backstory, more or less. But basically, they don't use her again for quite a while, and which is fairly disappointing, especially with how much of a integral role she's supposed to play when
it's weird.
It really is. And like I said, this is, you can start seeing the gaps already in terms of the creative difference between what Monty would have wanted and what Carrie, Miles, and the higher ups of Rooster Teeth wanted. And I already explained to you that Monty and the higher ups already kind of butted heads in terms of creative difference when he introduced Neo without their permission. Do you want to know Yang's mom's name? It's kind of like on the nose, especially when you hear
Is it Ying?
No, that would be too clever.
It's the opposite of or synonym of their uncle's name, if you still remember what her uncle's name is.
Drunkle?
No.
I would laugh.
So Soberant?
No.
That's the
It's a type of bird.
It's a certain black bird.
A raven?
Well,
Bingo.
Well, that's Yang's mom's name, but not the uncle's.
Oh.
The uncle's
So
another
his name's-
black bird.
So he's like Crow.
Yes.
Yes.
And later on, you see how more they go into the motif of those names. For example, you get a little bit of a flashback with Yang's storytelling of how she tried to look for her mother stupidly as a little kid, taking your 4-year-old younger sister in a wagon with you, walking miles on end possibly to an abandoned shack, getting attacked by Grimm, and suddenly, coincidentally, she's saved by her uncle. There's a reason for that, and it will probably get explained more in future seasons. I will let you know that. And this is why they kind of change up the motif more for Ozpin in later seasons as well, because right now he's the Wizard of Oz. But I will let you know right now that in future seasons he's going to have more of a motif in correlation and relation to Odin from Norse mythology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so the crow, so like the Drunkle's gonna be like his like minion and eyes.
You're on the nose for that. You have that correct.
All right.
And Uncle Crow is also, because, you know, Ozpin's Cabal is all based on the Wizard of Oz cast. You know, the Tin Man, the Good Witch, and
Can't just be like, oh, this guy's based on just fairy tale. Never mind, it's this one.
Uncle.
It's like when Once Upon a Time made Rumpelstiltskin the Beast and Beauty and the Beast. It's like you can't be two fairy tales. Come
I'm
on.
sorry, they did what now?
Yeah, he's the Rumpelstiltskin's the Beast and Beauty and the Beast, and part of his redemption arc is basically reconnecting with Beauty Belle.
That is so
Like she
fucking
tames
stupid.
him. Oh, a lot of wild stuff happens in the show. It's really hilarious.
I somehow believe you.
The twists are like so like what the fuck? It's kind of watch it blind. Maybe it's kind of like a weird show.
No, I believe you.
Also,
But
Peter Pan is Rumpelstiltskin's dad.
huh?
Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
That makes no sense, but all right. But for Uncle Crow, he is, you know, he is the Scarecrow.
Oh, okay.
And then in Volume 5, we will get introduced to the final member of this Wizard of Oz Cabal, the Cowardly Lion.
Is he gonna be like a corrupt politician or some shit?
Not a politician.
I can see like some kind of like mayor or something being like, oh, I'm the Cowardly Lion. We hate
Not a
these
mayor,
people."
not mayor, but still someone who is in power.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we got introduced to Yang's mom, Raven, officially, finally. We got mentions of other foretelling characters that will make an appearance in Volume 3. Uncle Crow is one of them, and I can't wait for that. And holy fuck, I'm not prepared for explaining why the voice actor changes in future volumes. I like that alone. I'd have to like do some massive research for, because I still remember to this day a lot of the issues that were surrounding that particular voice actor for Crow, because it's like, I don't want to say it's on the same level as Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but with the circumstantial evidence that we're following through and not sticking to this voice actor at the time, it was very, very fucked up with how wronged people can be when it comes to false accusations. Now, if you are suffering for this kind of stuff IRL, please seek help. You are loved and treasured. And you will be protected if you do go speak out against your abusers. But however, this voice actor was a very, very popular voice actor for quite a long time. Like, he has a long list. Like, he was in voice acting since 1989, I think, to now.
Dang.
Yeah, he has a long resume, and he's known for many prominent characters. Like, is some of them being the voice of Broly for Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball Broly movie, the original one, not the recent one, to Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. But yeah, that's going to be something I have to dive into more when we get to it, or at least when his voice actor switches out.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit more fucky when you go behind the scenes of the transition from Monty Ohm's RWBY, which you could arguably say is RWBY Volumes 1 through 3, to RWBY going forward. It's because the next character we're going to be introduced as well, and it's going to create like one of the biggest like fanships ever, is you already know who it is, Phoenix, is Weiss's sister, Winter. And she's not going to be what you expect, more or less, because we don't get really talk to Winter about Winter as much, and how she, because originally when we heard during that communication with Weiss and that one Dust Company accountant, the accountant is like, "Oh, your father and I think your sister's here. You want to talk to them?" And I thought it was going to be like an older, more grown-up version of Weiss. That is not the case. I will let you know that now. That is not the case going in Volume 3.
Bratty little sister.
No! I won't say...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I won't say anything more there, but her and Uncle Crow don't get along. And let me just say, it's both cute and adorable in a certain point of view that like it caused a lot of shipping between them since then. To the point there's actually so a lot of stuff that Monty Ohm has created and done for RWBY is a lot of it is inspired by Final Fantasy in some regard. There's a Final Fantasy game called Final Fantasy Type 0, and in that game there is a scythe-wielding, white-haired, blue-eyed, cape wearing girl in the game who somehow looks like the love child between these characters. I'm like, that cannot be a fucking coincidence. It can't. And even more, she even has a German name and everything, just like Weiss and her sister. So like, this can't be a fucking coincidence. Then so we got when they also talked about the dad, Tai Yang, and then we also talked a little bit more about Ruby's mother, Summer Rose. And so later in Volume 3, they're going to be officially talked about and shown like an actual Academy picture of them all together, and they're going to reveal their name as Team Stark. I hate to this day that they never made a spin-off of Team Stark. I hope they'll do it, but at the rate that they are, especially with them Rooster Teeth having collapsed and bought back, and then RWBY in a separate domain now with his media, it's like, I hope we get it, but I don't think we will, even though in the book...
Don't even have a main show.
It would make sense to have a spin-off with them. It would fill in so many gaps, it would appease so many fans, and they are just refusing to do that. I don't know why, it just pisses me off. Especially with the hilarity of Crow's little bit of... It's an offhand comment, but it's like a backstory for between Tai Yang and Crow. But what else should I talk about? Oh, we got introduced to Zwei. the stuff into a male tube dog.
Oh yeah,
The corgi husky puppy mech. With great difficulty, but he didn't care because he's always had a smile on his face.
Yeah. And they actually did make a canonical reason why he's like so indestructible, is that I think that's like supposed to be his Weiss semblance, is that he's more or less indestructible, which is why Ubla can use him like a fucking baseball and create like a fucking meteor or fireball out of him to knock.
Zwei is a little fluffy missile.
Basically.
They yeeted the pupper.
Yeet the pupper, launch the pupper, and the
We
pupper
throw-
will run back ready for another.
The only dog you can play fetch with himself. We
So,
throw the child.
so we talked about and got reacquainted with all of the new characters we got introduced before and got a little bit more elaboration with, like such as Penny. What else to talk about? We already talked about the narrative details. Possible setups for future characters, story developments, and whatnot. So I guess my final question is to Dakota, as someone who is going into all this blind fresh with these virgin eyes and ears of yours. What are your expectations going into Volume 3? What do you expect to happen?
I feel like I feel like there's gonna be a lot of reveals and a lot of action's gonna happen in Volume 3, and then like you mentioned, like it starts to go downhill after 4. I think it's gonna like lore and like plot's gonna start kicking.
There is a lot of action. I will tell you that. When it comes to things going downhill, that's more or less in terms of creative critique towards the writing going forward, because your creator is gone, and so you have your only 2 other people. I'll talk about this more going into Volume 3 discussion, but there are certain characters that don't make a reappearance for a good while because of the creative differences between some of the creators and voice actors with the decisions that Rooster Teeth decided to take forward going into future volumes. Yeah. Anything else you would like to see on your end, Dakota?
Well, I feel like this is gonna be the kind of show. I think I mentioned this earlier, where it's gonna be like there's gonna be a lot of funny character moments in the early seasons, but it more like it gets into like lore and plot, they're gonna be like sidelined, which I don't know if that's gonna happen, but like I feel like it's gonna be that kind of show. Should be kind of a shame, but like it still will probably be good.
I will tell you that there is going to be more lore establishing going to happen in going into Volume 3, but it's there's going to be action. There's going to be more lore establishment. And there is going to be a bit of a setup at the end of Volume 3. That's about it. And I'm actually kind of scared to watch the behind the scenes for Volume 3 because I'm fairly certain it's going to be very depressing, considering it is Monty's last work with RWBY itself and his fellow co-workers. So I'm fairly certain it's going to be a very depressing behind the scenes.
Are they gonna do that thing where like the main character starts off with a like all silly with a lot of personality, but as the show goes on, they become more like serious and don't really have that many silly moments, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's RWBY! You don't mess with RWBY. She's so badass. Like we gotta listen to what RWBY has to say."
Nah. Well,
No, okay.
Honestly, from volumes 1 through 3 to future, it goes from being 60% comedy, 4% action to being flipped to 40% comedy and 60% action. There's still plenty of comedy though.
Yeah.
All right.
They have its moments. I will say that in future volumes, they still have their moments. It's just not the same, and you're gonna feel that too. Like when we get into the future volumes, like it's not gonna feel the same because like the impact that Monty used to have in the first 3 volumes is like clearly not there anymore. Oh shit! I almost forgot. We got reintroduced to a character towards the end of Volume 2. Adam Taurus. We got reintroduced to him. He didn't really do much. He's pretty much going to be the spokesperson to lead the White Fang going forward, since the events that happened towards the end of Mount Glen at the end of Volume 2 ended up killing off a bunch of other White Fang member Faunus. And they're apparently pissed off with Cinder and her allies about it, and so they probably won't follow Cinder's orders going forward. But Adam's more or less willing to take the reins of quote-unquote leader going forward, and I say that in quotations because you will get introduced to certain characters later on in future volumes. Disappointingly, I will say that. And yeah, anything else we should talk about real quick before I end stream?
That I can think of.
Any last minute thoughts? Any more opinions or guesses of what to expect going into future volumes? Nope.
Penny did a funny dance, and that was pretty cool.
Yes. Penny did the robot shimmy.
Yeah. I guess something that made me happy was seeing Jean practically accept that Weiss is never going to really like him and actually get closer to his team, especially Pyrrha. Like, dude, this girl has been spending nights with you, training with you, giving you proper advice, and you blow her off for some, I guess, chick who doesn't even care to know your name.
Yeah, there's like some good character development with them.
Oh yeah. And that's the ironic thing going into future things. Like, I think I'll probably bring it up when we get to volume 4. But like when RWBY, I said RWBY is a static character. That's like there's like no initial decline or incline to her character development, more or less. I mean, there is actually character development that she does get in volume 6 when she discovers what a certain thing about her it makes her special. But it gets cucked at the end, and then you have a Gurren Lagann moment, and that's when I stopped watching RWBY because of that, because that was fucking stupid. She should have got that dub, and they didn't give her it, even though you're gonna hear me rant about it when we get to it. Trust me. Yeah. Good character development for Jean, and it's like for him, it's like nothing but going shooting for the stars for him going forward when it comes to character development and whatnot. And that's the best thing about him. That's the honestly the sad thing going into like volume 4 onwards, that people will honestly think he's the main character instead of RWBY herself. Like it gets that interesting when it comes to the writing development of characters going forward, where Jean has like all this development and then RWBY not so much, and then that's where a lot of the cracks start to show for RWBY going forward. But yeah,
funny, ironic how a character whose name is Arc and has a lot of character arc development.
Oh, what a coincidence! What a twist!
What a twist!
What a twist!
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, we have nothing else to talk about at this time. I think we're gonna call it there for a night. Thank you all for hopping by today. Tomorrow I'll be with Phoenix trying to finally beat Borderlands 2. We're literally at like the 9.
Nice.
We're at like we're in the field goal range. We need to get that touchdown. So hopefully we get that finished finally. Hopefully we don't have any issues or problems. But yeah, if I don't see y'all again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Good night then. Alright.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.
Adios. And I hope you guys have a good night as well. Bye.
Yeah, you too. This was a lot of fun.
Likewise. Can't wait for next
Later.
All right. Have a good night, you two.
time.
You as well.